Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to Super Fun Sunday. This is an unexpected surprise, even for me. You'll hear me say that actually in a lot of videos. Uh, Sometimes I really don't know that I'm going to do a video, and in fact, today I really didn't think that I was. Circumstances sort of opened up an opportunity and a window for me to shoot one, and initially I was going to do it for Patreon because it was going to be more of an educational video. And then I was like, I feel like I haven't been providing enough interaction with YouTube. So I had this idea, and the idea was uh, really consistently for the last couple of years, I get young artists or artists that are trying to break in, and they're curious about if they work digital, is it gonna kind of be a mark against them? It's a very common question, not just with inkers, but artists in general. I think people that pencil and ink themselves digitally, quote unquote, pencil and ink, virtually do it, or whatever you want to call it, have less of a concern because I think that they understand ultimately it really is based on the imagery and your ability to tell stories and all that stuff. It's interesting because I've had a lot of ideas for content. But again, I really not interested in doing so much educational stuff on just YouTube in general because I think it's a bit of a like a niche. It's not going to appeal to the average comic fan. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to look at Jorge Jimenez today, and what we're going to do is we're going to enjoy the images. He's a fantastic comic book artist. He works all digital, and the stuff looks amazing. He's what I would consider almost like at a virtuosic level with what he does. But I think there's some really important takeaways for people interested in working digitally to understand about these techniques and tools that you use, because as I've said in many videos for a long time, easy techniques are easy for other people to learn too. And when you just pick up surface ideas, you're really not going to be able to compete at a professional level. The thing with Jorge is he's not a lazy artist. Although he works digitally, he works his ass off on these pieces. I can tell by looking at them. They're very, very complex. He's got a very wide variety of skills that he uses to implement it. On top of the fact that he draws really well, so it's a combination of all these things that makes Jorge so special, and why he's shooting up the whatever you want to call it, the food chain or top of the mountain. But so what I wanted to do, and initially I had the idea yesterday, and is I wanted to do a video spotlighting digital comic book artists, American comic artists. I know sometimes when people ask me about comics, I my initial default answer is that I'm answering from the perspective of American comic artists, because generally speaking, I'm not working with like aspiring manga artists. I mean, they may have those characteristics in their work, but they're not going to try to work in the Japanese market. So comic questions I categorize as that they're more domestically produced. But yeah, give me ideas for your favorite digital. We'll call them, not, they don't have to live in America, but I mean like someone that's published in yeah, I mean, it could be American. I mean, really could be anything. But just like I know that manga artists mainly work digital. Many of them do, at least. So anyway, hopefully you get the idea. But yeah, give me recommendations because I wanted to do a spotlight, and we'll look at the different techniques that they use, the different aesthetics that they implement, and stuff like that. And then anyway, the only other thing that I wanted to say is obviously with Super Fun Sunday, people are wondering like what's going on with Kelsey. I've touched on it briefly in the fan art video and then also in a Patreon video. I haven't spoken to Kelsey in over 3 months. Everything was fine. As I explained it in the fan art video, there was a hurricane kind of coming towards his area, and I was genuinely concerned about him. I like Kelsey a lot, and so I was keeping in contact with him up to the point of the hurricane. Sounds like a very dramatic story. And then he lives far enough north from the coast that it wasn't going to like completely decimate like his area, hopefully. And then after the hurricane, I talked to him a couple of times too, and then all of a sudden he just vanished. The only thing that I can say is that I've heard him say sometimes he dips out. And I really assumed that it was maybe something that he did for a few weeks, but I honestly don't know what's going on. So it's very difficult for me to say. As I've said multiple times, I hope everything is okay. I would love to have him come back, and I've texted him and called him and tried every way which way to get in contact with him. And my idea is like, if I can get in contact with him, I was like, hey, well, I mean, as long as everything is normal, like, hey, let's just hop on YouTube live and like surprise everyone. So hopefully that will happen. I'm, like I said, it's very difficult for me to you know I don't know what to say. So anyway, all right, so let's get into Jorge Jimenez and what's Super Fun Sunday going to be. It's going to be super fun. All right, full screen. Let's do this. Bigger is better. That's what we say. All of these files are from his art dealer's website. And you go, art dealer? This guy works digital. So Jorge sells one-of-one prints of his work. Again, this is a whole new frontier. Not like this year, but things have evolved. For people that go, well, God, if I do digital, I don't have originals. That's not actually completely accurate. These aren't NFTs that they're selling, although you can do that too. I mean, it's a very wide-reaching topic. But anyway, Jorge does one-of-one prints. I believe he signs them. They may be remarked. I don't know about that exactly, but he does, in a way, have original art. Now. Victor Bogdanovic was doing the same thing, although I do believe that Victor did switch to traditional. But anyway, the only downside of me zooming in is, like, I'm sitting about 10 inches from a Cintiq. It's a little pixelated. These aren't the highest res scans. Obviously, they don't want to release super high res reproductions, because then someone could try to, create their own prints to sell. Believe me, people do stuff like that. But this is beautiful. So to me, Jorge Jimenez, when he originally was working for DC, I would see his work in comps, and I immediately liked it. It reminded me a tiny bit of Duncan Rouleau. Now he's incorporated some really beautiful, like, Olivier Coipel techniques in his stuff. There's a little bit of Adam Hughes that you'll see, but he's a real good cartoonist, and so I really do see actually quite a bit of this. This reminds me a lot of Duncan Rouleau, and this reminds me of Duncan Rouleau. It's highly unlikely that it's an influence on Jorge, although it might be. But anyway, that's me projecting what I see. And his Batman is fantastic. So look at this. This is badass. This almost reminds me a little bit of Ryan Sook, the way that it looks. And I'm not going to sit and keep comparing his work to other people, but just so that we get like a little bit of a ground plane that we're going to work from. He has a wide variety of brushes that he uses, custom brushes, either they're stock or he tweaks them himself. I explained to a friend of mine just a day or two ago, making custom brushes in Photoshop or Clip Studio is incredibly easy. I mean, you could watch literally probably like about a 90-second tutorial on it and understand how to do it. It's very simple. Dialing in brushes is a bit more complex, but I mean, it's you're not going to hurt anything playing around with the idea, but if you want to create some custom brushes, give it a shot. It's well worth doing it. There's a bazillion free brushes out there, to the point where it would probably overwhelm most normal people. But depending on your tenacity and psychoness, you can go as far down these rabbit holes as you really want. I'm that psycho, but I can't, I don't generally assume that other people would want to be as crazy as I am, but, it's to a detriment, honestly, but anyway. So this is nice. Again, we're going to look at, I think, Super Sons, Teen Titans, and some of his most current work. We'll hustle through some of the, what do you call it, like less interesting pages a little quicker. This almost reminds me a little bit of Ryan Benjamin. Ryan definitely, I think, picked up on Jorge's techniques and was starting to incorporate them. Really this layout, too, is very similar. Ryan and I did Super Sons and Teen Titans together, and this sort of reminds me a lot of how he lays out pages. A lot, honestly. I mean, this looks like a Ryan page. It's actually kind of trippy. This too, holy shit, that's crazy. Ryan's a great cartoonist, and like when I say cartoonist, I'm generally speaking of we'll call it Bigfoot art, where the characters tend to look a little bit more like teenagers or children. Obviously, these characters are that age, but I'm talking about even the adult characters have a little bit of a different proportion. And then we'll call like the Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri style, more like a superhero. All right, so let's move through these quicker. This was a little earlier in his career. Still beautiful, and it is interesting to see Jorge sort of expand his techniques. So it's well worth looking at his early work, where initially you see him dropping in kind of more gradients and using what I would consider more manga type techniques. A little bit of the crosshatch brush. Look, whenever I even bring up the crosshatch brush, or even like a leaf brush, to me it's pretty much the same shit. You have to be really, really careful with the crosshatch brush. I think it's a very cheesy technique. Jorge implements it very well, but it's like you're not going to get bonus credits filling all your backgrounds with a hatch brush. It looks... If I was an editor, I mean, I would check that shit so fast. I'd be like, look, you can use something like this, but you need to use it in a way that looks cool. Jorge tends to do almost, it's a bit of a splatter look. It's a little bit of like, almost like a more chalky kind of, again, it looks a little like Coipel. I mean, I definitely think that he vibes off of Olivier's stuff. And Olivier does it all traditional, but you know, it's a real nice look. I definitely think that Jorge uses some tracings, we'll call it, in his work, based on some of the stuff that I've seen. It wouldn't surprise me if like a shot like this is maybe from Google SketchUp, and trust me, it's not that he can't draw this stuff, but he's using the tools in creative ways. Now, the art police, you know, each person has their own sort of interpretation of like what's sort of ethical, or I don't know, ethics wouldn't be the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Some people are Nazis about it, and some people aren't. Most people that actually draw are less that way, and then you have the armchair sort of quarterbacks that can tell you exactly how things should be done, although they'll never do anything themselves. You see it with music too. These people, they're on the message boards constantly like criticizing shit, and it's like, well, where's your work? And it's fine, you can be a fan and be a critic too, but at some point, you know, this is beautiful. Really, really nice shot. And it's man, he's so good. These characters, this is very Coipel-ish. Even these very kind of casual sort of drawings, they're almost like sketches that he inks super, super quick, and then the tightness of the background kind of brings it in. But I actually like the fact that like there's kind of no holding lines. You see how like this kid's arm sort of blends into the couch, and it's just some real nice stuff going on. If you can suggest things well, you don't need to connect the lines. Like I think him dropping out the line on this like little girl's chin sitting right here really helps the drawing, and sometimes connecting those lines starts to slow things down. And what I mean by that is it starts to stiffen things up, really is what it is. You want, in particular with comic art, you really want it to be like moving. This is another thing too I've noticed with Jorge's stuff. He gets thrown a lot of scripts with a lot of panels, and he's actually very, very good at using space. I mean, if you look at this page right here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 panels. That's a lot of fucking panels to make it this dynamic and not have everything teeny weeny. And he actually has a pretty wide variety of sizes going on. This upper panel almost reads as one shot, although you have 3 characters in it. But I would, oh well, you know what it is? It's the silhouette of the whatever this bird is. I don't know I don't know who this character is, to be honest. I'm sure DC fans are like, how the fuck do you not know who that is? I have no idea who that character is. Anyway, we'll call her Bird Lady. I think that the silhouette of the crow is the big read. So you've got your bigs, you've got your mediums, and you've got your smalls in here, which really always makes the page work well. Look at this. I mean, this is just so fucking good. One thing that I'll say, though, is when you start working in value like this, it's very, very difficult to go back. And that's why you see him... This is earlier. This is from a few years ago. The more he started to bring this in, the less you're going to start to see panels that are just black and white. So it's an addictive thing, and just when you really start to control value and depth like this, you really don't want to go back, honestly. I think it's very, very difficult to look at just like line art and feel like it looks done, because this looks so much like Duncan Rouleau. Um, oh God, look at this pose right here. He's so freaking good. He's so talented, and it's not hype, man. This guy is legit. He can draw his ass off, and he's pushing comics with these styles. And it's not to say that this stuff wasn't around in other iterations and other fields, but there wasn't a lot of people manhandling digital art the way that this guy does. For storytelling too, in particular. I mean, I think he's really set a new precedent, and I'm sure there's other people. There's a guy that was working on Daredevil that I was mentioned that I don't know his name, but I had seen a couple of comics. He was really good too. Different style than this, but holy shit. But this is great, you know. This was interesting. I saw this in the files. I didn't remember saving this particular piece, but again, beautiful, beautiful shot of them sitting at the table. Very, very nice, kind of forced perspective in it, and really nice use of space. I mean, the cups are sort of leaning because of the the pull of the perspective, but I like it. Like it's got a cool sort of vibe to it. This is awesome. But yeah, these are interesting. I mean, he obviously just laid down like some color. It looks like a little blurred too, but this is killer. Look at this. I was gonna do Simon DeMeo or Simone DeMeo. I'm not sure how he pronounces his name. I thought Jimenez. I've done videos on Jimenez before. I think for Patreon. So I felt like that if we're gonna start to talk about digital comic book storytelling, that Jorge was a good place to start, and then we can move out from there. Because you'll see in other people's work a bit more photo bashing and things like that going on, more use of probably Google SketchUp again and stuff like that. But that's really, really nice. The small shot of Catwoman is really good. Her making this facial expression is very, very nice. But yeah, I started seeing like a little bit of Adam. He was kind of popping up in his stuff, and he blended it in so fast. I mean, over a period of like years. So this is from 2015. This is 7 years ago. This guy was fucking crushing it already. That's nice too. Really, really good colors. Beautiful. Yeah, this guy is the man. Oh, this is great too. Fuck, man. But I think that this is a very exciting look. Nobody would ever turn away an artist that could produce work of this quality, whether you're digital or traditional. You know, it's just one of those things. It's good is good. You know, that's the way that it goes. And again, you can see as he moved along, he's got this not only beautiful digitally inked piece, but this nice gradient on it to make them sort of fall into the blackness. It's really, really good. Okay. He does great hair, too. Actually, I really like the way he does hair. Okay, so let's move. We're going to move a little quicker and try to get to... oh, God, look at these poses. They're all so good. Man, it's fucking awesome. I'm going to try to stop cursing out of respect to Jorge, believe it or not. Yeah, it's good. His kids are great. Oh, look at this. Man, this is awesome. I wonder if he ever saw Carlos Meglia's stuff. Okay, so let's hustle. We're gonna hustle a little bit. Don't bum out. Again, all you need to do if you want to find all these files is just Google Jorge Jimenez original art, and all of these I got not this morning but a few months ago from his art dealer's site. So most of them I think are still up. And you can always revisit the video and pause it. But yeah, oh, this piece was great. I remember when he was working on this. Man, he's so good. But he definitely implements some manga techniques. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, he's definitely using, you know, models or photos, or there's a little bit of that going on at times in his stuff, and then other times there's not, you know. This is really nice. Ryan Benjamin can get these kind of effects traditionally. It's pretty cool, actually. Like when Ryan inks himself, like on commissions and stuff like that, he just goes freaking balls out and gets some really, really high energy stuff in his work. So love the hair here on this guy, like that cool gradient. Like I said, it's when you start putting this much value in your pieces, you are not going to go back to just line art easily. Because there's so much illumination. I mean, it's kind of like my black drawings in a way, where there's so much vibrancy and so much kind of glow that you create with value. It's just a beautiful way to work. It really is. And if you can have a good colorist work over it, then you're pretty golden. But this is awesome, man. It's so freaking good. The way that he renders Batman's costume, it looks right out of an Olivier Coipel comic. So I'm nearly sure that that's kind of where he probably started to get a little bit of that thing. I don't. It's there was a couple of times I saw a little bit of Travis in Jorge's stuff, very little, but there was a drawing or two that he did that looked like he might have referenced Travis. I don't know if I'll see him in here, but I remember seeing it and going like, wait a second, that's Spartan. But anyway, that's not a big deal. All these drawings, again, it's not even just the techniques. It's the poses and the gestures and the energy and the facial expressions and everything. It's so on point. So let's hustle a little bit. I can't have this video super long. I actually got to get to work. Look at this. It's funny that I responded to this, but there's I don't know what it is, but like foresty night scenes and stuff like that, they always look so cool. But this looks like a leaf brush that he used up here, you know, filled this with leaves or did some sort of maybe inverse of real leaves. And there's a lot of tricks that you can use. Like, although people might think of me as a traditional artist, trust me, I've been messing around with digital stuff for a long time, and I'm a huge fan of it too. So I know what's up. Again, great drawings though. Past it all, this is just all awesome. Her crying here. This dude is a stud. Oh man, I would have loved to have worked with this guy at Wildstorm. You know, just as like a studio mate. Oh my god, would have been so interesting to see him develop this. Look at this motorcycle. Again, this looks like it's probably from a photo or something like that. The bike itself, but you know, it works. This is nice too. Look at this shot. This is so good. I'm really glad I did this video for everyone today. I hope everyone's doing well, and happy holiday seasons to all of you. And yeah, everything's been going good. I was really, really busy. I'm finishing up Crystal Planet as we speak, so it's a lot of work. On Patreon, I talk about it a little bit more, but yeah, it's been an interesting thing. I don't generally talk about jobs while I'm working on them, but when it's all said and done, you'll get the stories. Needs a little breathing room. So this was another thing that I was going to say. Jorge Jimenez reminds me a lot of someone who draws all the time. You can just see it in his work. There's a natural sort of connection that he has to the work that goes beyond normal, like, I want to learn to draw good, and you kind of work on your art, and it takes, you know, he went through that period in comics. If you look at his earliest work that he did at DC, it's okay. It's not exceptional by any means. But it's fine. It's not bad work. But there's three people that came to mind when I was trying to think of examples of people that I've worked with directly that draw a lot. One is Eric Canetti. I've never seen a guy draw more than Eric Canetti, and if you follow him online, then you know what I'm talking about. Eric, like for an artist, Eric draws a lot. I mean, when he's not drawing, he's drawing. David Finch, I really feel is like that. I think David enjoys his life and downtime, but you can just tell that David Finch is an incredibly hard worker and is drawing a lot. He draws a lot. Beyond just it's how do you stay relevant in comics for 10 years, for 20 years, for 25 years? I mean, that's where those guys are headed with the longevity of their careers. The only way that you do it is you have to have your skills sharp, and you see it with artists. If you've been following comics for a while, these people that don't draw a lot, their skills start to diminish. It's just the way that it goes. You can't work at a professional, like, athlete level and let it ride. Nobody is that good. And the thing is that the industry as a whole is advancing, just like everything. You know? These tools help artists. God, look at that. Fuck, man. These tools help artists produce art at a slightly quicker pace, we'll say. Although, again, I don't think that anything that Jorge does is necessarily easy. He's not using the tools to be lazy. He's just using it to get like a more insane look. Like this is, I mean, that's a poster. I wouldn't even want this in color. It just looks so good in black and white. Speaking of that, I'm actually highly considering when doing a color and black and white version of Blaster Kid. I've always had that in the back of my mind, but I work with value enough that it might be worth it. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, and there was one other person that I thought of that draws like a lot. Like when they're not drawing, they're drawing kind of person. It's escaping me now, but who was it? Oh, Dan Fraga. Dan Fraga is another guy. Dan draws all the freaking time. And when Dan's not drawing, he's like warming up to draw. And when he's cooling down, he's drawing more. These people, they don't like there's just it's again they're like professional athlete artists. It's the only way to really describe it. There's a fire in their belly to draw that is insatiable. But hopefully this video gets you fired up to draw. This is kind of Adam Hughesy-ish. But this is, again, looks like it's from a few years ago, and that's he was picking up some of these ideas and techniques from Adam for sure. And then again, I see a little bit of Ryan Sook in his stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that he was getting it from Sook, because Sook got a lot from Adam. So even Terry Dotson a little bit. Man, this is still very, very nice. His characters are so cool looking. Look at this dude. All right, let's go fast. We got to get to the most recent shit. Oh man, look at that. And this is kind of like an Adam Hughes. There's a piece that Adam did that looks just like this. Or I mean, the poses are different. The shot is similar. But man, that is money. Wait, this is interesting too, and I don't want to. I don't want to say this in like a negative way, but I'm pretty fried on like superheroes. Like when I see people drawing DC and Marvel characters, I find it very uninteresting. It has nothing to do with sort of crowdfunding or any of that stuff. It's just I've been around it long enough where I don't really need to see another Batman drawing. When someone's really good, like Jorge Jimenez or Coipel, and they draw these characters, it fires up that spark a little bit in me, or a lot. But yeah, it's interesting. But I don't look at this stuff and feel cringy, but sometimes when I'm online and I see people doing like fan art of the big two in particular, I'm just like, man, do your own stuff. Like these characters, it's like I don't need to see another Batman drawing on like a gargoyle or whatever. But I know other people feel differently about it. It's just, I've been around it longer than you probably. This is awesome. But yeah, I don't get that feeling at all when I look at Jorge's stuff. Not even the tiniest bit, which I think is a testament to how good this guy is. I would read his Batman stories all day and love it and remember what I loved about the characters in the first place. When I see good Batman stuff, it always makes me think of the Arkham games too. Those are so fun and they're so beautiful looking. It was interesting. That last page reminded me, if there was a guy that was doing a Penguin, he did a Penguin miniseries that I kind of at times thought that maybe Jorge was a little bit influenced by. This is a few years ago, but I did notice the similarity. This is more recent stuff, but man, this is so good. Yeah, I've shot a couple of videos for Patreon, and I can't remember if I ever uploaded them or not. But I've done 2 or 3 spotlights on this guy, and every time I'm just like, oh my god, it's so freaking good. Again, we'll hustle a little bit through some of these. I would think too, Sean Gordon Murphy in some ways. I think Jorge probably was keeping an eye on over the last like maybe 4 or 5 years. Sean's really good, you know, and I mean, and it's interesting too. Is Jorge's the way that he draws people has actually gotten. It's still very cartoony, but it's a little more realistic. God, this is great right here. This panel is awesome. Really interesting angle too. I mean, he's got just a little bit of the side planes of all this stuff, and even this like little room or a hallway that goes down here. I mean, you're catching a little bit of the wall here going up the stairs. Really, really nice touch. This sloped 3-point perspective right here is very nice too. And again, just another killer table shot. Man, I could look at this stuff for all day. Okay, my apologies that if you're looking at this on like a big screen, it might be a little tiny bit pixely, but you know, you're not going to be able to see these full books in black and white like this currently without using these files. He would be a great artist to do, you know, unwrapped on, you know, or what do they call them, gallery editions of the DC like big books. But I mean, I would definitely pick it up for sure, no doubt in my mind. This is great. I remember this. His Penguin is awesome. Honestly, they all look great. His Riddler is great. I love the inverse silhouettes. Big fan of that look. Probably from Frank Miller. This is nice. This is really good right here. Man, like look at this gesture for Catwoman right here. He is just so connected to these drawings. This looks a little SketchUp-y right here. Man, this is great too. So have you been following Jorge Jimenez online? If not, and you like it, you definitely should. I'll have links to his Instagram and his art dealer. This is so detailed. Oh my gosh. Love this little soft mist that he puts over the splatter too. The glow. But, you know, again, I mean, I think it's a little difficult to see in these scans. But, you know, we're not seeing the crosshatch brush everywhere. He uses different textures, and it seems to open things up a bit. Again, this looks like kind of SketchUp-y model to me. But, you know, it fills space. It gives him the opportunity to focus on other things and lay in a fairly detailed background so that I kind of, when I look at his work, I think of the budget. Oh, man, are we done? Holy shit. Hold on. Let's open a few more. I don't think I opened them all. What's this? Shoot. Well, I guess that's it. Okay, so yeah, what I was gonna say is when I look at Jorge's stuff, I feel like I'm looking at a big budget movie. He doesn't really skimp on anything. Now, sometimes he achieves those effects possibly by using like Google SketchUp models and stuff like that, and then, you know, putting his special effects over them. But I think in his world, because he works so hard on everything that he does, I can easily give it a pass and not feel like it's a laziness technique. It's more an efficiency where like a manga artist might use some background artists. Jorge does it, I believe, all himself. He uses the tools to help aid him. So it's just things that you can consider as someone who's interested in drawing. Now, you know, you'll have your own sort of ethics on what you feel is appropriate. But anyway, please let me know, digital artists, digital comic book artists, let's try to avoid manga, but we can do we can do a spotlight on manga artists. But I feel like that it would be confusing to do all that and look at American, and I don't know if you call it European art, but to me there's a little bit of a difference. I mean, clearly there is, because manga outsells all the other stuff. I just I don't have as strong of a familiarity with manga also, which makes it difficult to do the videos. I need to have another co-host that's like a manga expert that can be kind of like the teacher, and then I could be the student asking questions. So it's an idea. I mean, definitely for next year, you know, look, bottom line, I want Kelsey back. Kelsey, come back. Just in general, because I miss him. But you know, I like having other guests on anyway, but it would be interesting to get someone who's really really up on their manga and do maybe like a series of shows on that, because I'd be interested in learning about it. You know what? There was a guy, there was two people that worked at Wildstorm that was their expertise. I'll reach out to him. Tommy Yoon was his name. And Tommy's a real nice guy too, but he would be interesting. He would definitely know an era of it. I'm not 100% sure that he would know contemporary stuff, because I don't think he's in the business anymore. But we'll figure it out. But anyway, you guys have a great day. Oh, okay, and this was the other thing that I was going to say real quick is we think sometimes of digital as something that's going on now, or has been going on for like 10 years or 15 years in comic books, but you have to understand that two very very famous illustrator style comic book artists were using very primitive versions of this way back, which is, one, we have Richard Corbin, and two, Brian Boland. Both of those guys are highly highly respected traditional artists who both immediately went and started exploring what digital workflow could do for them. Now with Brian, it possibly was physical that he needed a little help. I can't remember what the circumstances were that it exactly got him there. And Richard Corbin is just a very experimental artist, and that's why he probably did it. On top of the fact that I think that he knew that he would be able to do incredible things with it. Cut to like 25 years later, I mean, it's a golden age of all of this stuff. So anyway, it's something for you to consider. I'm not trying to talk you into it. I prefer to work, I definitely pencil better traditionally. I can pencil fine digitally, but I just see the page better traditionally. I feel like I can control my lines. I can put the detail in better. And so for me, for whatever reason, I kind of seem to flourish that way. But I like laying stuff out digitally. I mean, I think it's a nice way to tighten up your drawings and move sizes around and things if you need to. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a super fun Sunday, and I'm going to get to work. All right, later.